Are Toronto housing prices creating a city that is just for the 1%? Well, Jagmeet Singh, the federal NDP leader, thinks so, and he's calling the feds to get involved. Javelle Morrison, broker with Bosley Real Estate and regular contributor here, joins me now. Hey, Javelle.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good,
Are
thanks.
you going to the Beyonce concert?
No, I'm not.
Because I feel like you're always everywhere. I just needed to ask. If you didn't know, it's officially Beyonce weekend, Queen Bee weekend here in Toronto, apparently.
You know what? I can't get over concert ticket prices. I really
Right?
can't.
I know.
They're too expensive. They just are.
I know. You kind of have to take out a loan to see all of the celebrities. And this, I mean, in July alone, there are a lot of concerts happening in the city. So if you're a concert goer, that means you're not eating for the rest of the month in order to be able to afford to go to everything.
It's funny. I just went to see the Janet Jackson concert in May, which was awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, I've basically decided not to do concerts. And
Yeah.
like it has to be someone I really, really, really want to see.
Yeah.
Because the price point, I can't justify it. It makes no sense to me.
I have to say I was very jealous. I was vicariously living through your post because I really wanted to see Janet, and she was another one that was just really expensive. But you're right. You kind of have to be really selective about who you want to see, and then it's an investment. Remember when concerts were just something fun? Now it's an investment to go see somebody. Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's funny. I think back to my childhood. There was like, the CNE, they had the bandstand. It was
Yes.
such a big concert venue, and I saw Wham there because I was recently looking at the new Wham documentary
Oh
on
yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Have you
It's
seen
so,
it? Have you seen the documentary?
oh yeah, no, like the day it got released.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have not seen it yet, so I'm looking forward to that. Totally cool.
It's so good.
Okay, let's get back on real estate. So Jagmeet Singh is asking the question: is Toronto becoming a city for the 1%? What do you think about his idea of removing the federal portion of the GST and HST on new affordable homes in the city to essentially make them more affordable for people?
Well, it's not just the GST and HST. Like
Yeah,
that's a small portion of it. If they're going to do something and really move the needle, they would need to have to give those developers a break on all the development charges, the park levies, and the education levies. So let's look, for example, at a $600,000 condo. Approximately $120,000 of that goes to the government.
hmm
So do we think a $480,000 condo is more affordable or a $600,000 condo?
But I actually appreciate the fact that this is on his radar and he's actually talking about it, because I feel like, at the federal level, we hear a lot of this discussion on the municipal level and the provincial level, but I feel like at the federal level, politicians in that realm are just like, yeah, Toronto's expensive, and they keep moving on. And I do wonder if Jagmeet Singh, this is on his radar as well, because of Mayor-elect Olivia Chow was an NDP MP. I understand that he sees her as kind of a mentor to him. And so
Right.
I'm sure that she's put this on his radar as well, which again, I just appreciate the fact that somebody, especially a leader of the opposition, is actually talking about this.
Well, but don't forget, Justin Trudeau did make some housing
Yeah.
promises in the election. My
Promises.
challenge, so I said promises. The challenge with the promises that he made is he didn't really do them with any consultation
Yeah.
with anyone in the housing industry. So do we have a housing issue that we need all three levels of government to sit and work out? Absolutely. But it needs to be done with people who actually work in the industry.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, then the changes mean nothing.
He has also said, Jagmeet Singh has also said that he'd like to set aside federal land to build rental housing and homes for first-time buyers. Thoughts on that?
That'd be great. I mean, at the end of the day, they keep relying on private individuals to provide supportive and rental housing, but it's not up to private individuals. It is up to the government. So
Yeah.
absolutely. Provincial lands, municipal lands, federal lands, give it up.
Yeah.
Let's build. Absolutely.
All right. In other news, an economist for the TD Bank, Rishi Sondhi, says the second half of the year will see a slowdown of the housing market. What are you seeing right now? Are you seeing it slow down even now during the summer season?
So summer season always slows down. I
Okay.
mean, that's just a natural part of the natural ebb and flow of the market, right? Summer is always a little bit slower. Spring is, definitely full of verve, and so is the fall. And for me right now, I'm seeing lots of my clients are going to be listing their properties in the fall. So for me in the fall, I feel like we're going to see a lot more supply, and it's really about the buyers who want to get out and buy, making sure they're ready for the fall when more supply comes on the market.
And
Because low supply is still an issue.
yeah. And do you think that's going to happen even with the anticipated interest rate increase later on this month?
Yes. I mean, yes, we are anticipating that rates are going to rise this week. But at some point, I think some people have gotten used to the new norm.
Mm.
So the people who have mortgages, who are variable, who don't want to pay this high rate, and I can't blame them, they're not used to this. But the people who are first time buyers out there that haven't started to pay for a mortgage yet, they know this is what they need to do to find a place to live, and they are willing to do it. I recently sent out a postcard in my neighborhood for a condo listing that I've got coming up.
Mm.
I've been shocked at how many phone calls I'm getting. They're all first time buyers. They all want to buy. I've probably had at least 10 calls in 4 days from one postcard.
Wow. And these are
Yeah.
serious, obviously serious. If they're calling you, they're picking up the phone and calling.
Absolutely. And then I'm actually introducing them to my mortgage broker. So they are actually quite serious about buying.
Yeah.
So the buyers are out there. Even as recent as last week, a colleague of mine had 5 offers on a condo in the Bloor and Lansdowne area.
Hmm.
So yeah, the buyers are out there.
Okay. An interesting piece in the Toronto Star this week developed questions if the livability of the city is at stake and points out that between 2016 and 2021, the population in Toronto grew by just 4.9%, but prices for homes have increased by 47%. And so while, we need affordable housing in the city, will it be stopped? First of all, by NIMBYism, that's where the article was going, especially with, protests in High Park when it comes to high-rise buildings in that area and obviously other areas as well. And really just explores the question of, everybody knows that the city needs to grow. We need homes for people. And yet, prices are going up. People don't want high rises in their communities. So where are people going to go? Where are people going to live? They're eventually going to leave the city if they can't find homes here.
You're right. Something's got to give. And at some point, we need to be a little bit more concerned about people finding a place to live than we are about casting shadows in somebody's backyard.
Yeah.
Because, that's kind of what happens with this, not in my backyardism, the NIMBYism, is that, some of the homeowners go and they're like, but wait, there's going to be a shadow cast in my backyard. Therefore, you can't build this condo building. That seems crazy to me that we're not building because it might cast a shadow in somebody's yard.
And what are people afraid of? I don't think I would like to know it's more than casting a shadow in your backyard because there's a high rise a couple blocks down. What do you think people are really afraid of?
So I know in my neighborhood, I live in Midtown Toronto, and a lot of it tends to be, oh, it's going to hurt the value of my home, which is ridiculous. Because as we've seen, especially at Yonge and Eglinton, the number of condos that have gone up, it has not hurt the values of our homes.
Yeah.
And if you needed the value of our home to skyrocket even further, that's just being ridiculous, right? I would say from living at Yonge and Eglinton, when I see all the buildings go up, it's actually improved all the services for me. So I've got more restaurants, more places to shop, things that wouldn't exist if it weren't for the density that the condo buildings provide some of these local retailers. So I think that people need to kind of get their heads out of there, because I also think too that people want to age in their neighborhood. They want to. So if you have a house in that particular neighborhood, chances are at some point you want to give up your house, but you need to move to a smaller place in your neighborhood. And that's what the benefit of building condos in these neighborhoods offers, is that when you want to downsize your house, now all of a sudden you have a condo building that's one level, that has no stairs, and when you don't want to look after your home anymore, to live in. So I do think that people are actually missing the big picture about their evolution of what they actually need in their neighborhood by picketing all these condo buildings that goes up.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. If said people who are, saying not in my backyard are really worried about this, then yeah, if you think about the development, if let's take Eglinton and Yonge, for example, with all of the development there, the LRT. I know I just said a swear word on the radio because but when
Right.
it's done eventually, hopefully at some point, I mean, that all adds to the accessibility of the area. I could
Yeah.
only see the value of property in that area going up.
Absolutely, for sure. It makes a big difference. I mean, there's a neighborhood here called Leaside.
Yeah.
You know, Leaside before isn't that accessible,
Yeah.
but once you put in that LRT, Leaside becomes incredibly accessible. So why not? But then if I look at the place like the Danforth, I go, okay, why in the world are we not building higher
Yeah.
along the Danforth? It's a main street, there's subway access. Right now when I drive along the Danforth, what I do see is a lot of for lease signs and a lot of businesses closing down.
Mm-hmm.
If they had the density of condo buildings up and down Danforth, condo buildings that were like 40 stories along that street, those businesses wouldn't be closing down.
Yeah, and I just don't get the protests. I don't get the protests because, again, living in a city that continues to grow, this is the reason why people come to Toronto. They come to Toronto because it is this hub, it is this vibrant place, and that means growth. And so as
Right.
we see this, the so-called yellow belt, is that what it's called? The yellow belt, right? Where, like
Yeah.
the low-rise building. As we see that sort of change, I mean, that again just puts more into the economy, more into, again, just building up the city and making it even better. That I could understand that there are those who are just afraid of change. And I think
Yes.
that's also a part of it. They're afraid of change. They grew up
Yes.
in that neighborhood. They can say, I
Yes.
remember when my son went to that park and now the park is not there. Or,
Yeah.
that parking lot is gone and there's now a condo. But that
Mhm.
means growth. And that's what
Yes.
you want to see in a city. You want to see growth. You don't want to see what's happening in other cities in the States, aka San Francisco, where you're seeing the opposite right now, right? You're seeing the downtown
Exactly.
core start to crumble.
Exactly. Absolutely. You're right. It's about keeping the downtown core vibrant, and you're going to do that through making it livable. I mean, that's one of the nice things about Toronto is that, for other cities, their downtown core might only be office buildings, but here we've got a combination of office as well as people living in.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we want from our city.
Yeah. And it might not be people living in the downtown core, but even people frequenting the downtown core, right? We bring in more people into the city. That means more activity within the city as well. Speaking of activity, Meta has created a new social media platform called Threads that went live on Wednesday, a text-based version of Instagram. It is meant to give Twitter some competition. Do you think it will?
Absolutely. I love it. Billionaires.
Have you been
going
on
after
it?
each other. Oh yeah, I'm on it. I'm on Threads. I'm
Okay.
there. You know what? I mean, I never really got super into Twitter.
Yeah.
I kind of like this as like, Mark Zuckerberg taking on Elon Musk in a business way. So I think it's really interesting. I think consumers really haven't been happy with the changes that Musk has been making. So many people are flocking to Threads. I saw this stat that, Threads is now well over 10 million users. And it took only 7 hours for Threads to get to 10 million users. It took Netflix 7 years to get to 10 million users. And it took Twitter just over 2 years. So Threads it's incredible. There's so many people on it.
Yeah, 10 million just signed up in the first few hours of it being announced. By Thursday, they were up at 30 million, apparently. That's what I've read. So, but this is my thing, Deval. If you delete your Threads account, that also means you delete your Instagram account. This is what I've read time and time again. Does that concern you?
So the CEO came out and said that's not the case.
Okay, so that's changed. Okay.
Yes, because everybody was running around with that rumor, but the CEO has now, I think he tweeted or he threaded, I can't remember which.
Threaded. I love it.
That was not the case.
The other concern I have, and the reason why I have not yet signed up, I'm watching people like you and Jody, navigate this thread world, is the data concerns. So, Threads has said that in the fine print that they will collect a wide range of personal information, including health, financial, contacts, browsing and search history, location data, purchases, and quote, sensitive info. And this is according to their data privacy disclosure on the App Store. Does that concern you?
They're already collecting it. Like, do not kid yourself. Facebook,
I
Instagram.
know, but do you really need another social media platform collecting even more?
I got TikTok as well. I mean, they're all spying on
So
you.
the Chinese are spying on you, and now so is Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I'm already in Mark Zuckerberg's world. I've got Facebook, I got Instagram. Like it's happening, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many times do you have a conversation with somebody about something
Oh, yeah.
and then voila, an ad appears as you're scrolling through social media about the very thing you just finished talking about. So let's be clear that we are being spied on.
It's so true. The other day I was at a big box store and I was looking at outdoor cushions for our patio set and I couldn't decide. I was calling my husband and talking to him, whatever. And then I got home and I was in my office, my home office, and I was online doing something. And what pops up? The ad for the exact cushions that I was just looking at a couple days ago. And I did not search online for these cushions. I'm like, okay, Big Brother's watching me everywhere I go.
That's what
Let's talk about this grocery rebate. So many Canadians got the grocery rebate. The federal government had promised in the last budget. They got that this week. It's expected to reach 11 million Canadians will get this rebate. You have to be in a household. You have to have a household income of $38,000 or less, or an individual income of $32,000 or less. Is this enough? I mean, when we break it down, if you're single with no kids, you get $234. Single with 4 kids, $628. If you're married or in common law, no children, $306. If you have 4 kids, $628. 2 kids, $467. Is that enough for those who are really, really struggling to make ends meet and just buy the basics?
I think it sort of goes back to what this government likes to do is sort of platitudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's let's do this, let's show that we're doing something. But the hard work and what they really should be doing is they should be going after the grocery retailers to stop price gouging all of us. Because that's where this all stems from, right? Like if we look at recently, Canada Bread was fined $50 million for price fixing a few years ago. So, when the grocery store chains say that it's a supply issue, we're going to call BS on that, right?
Yeah. I mean, even with the strike right now in BC at the ports makes me worried about, again, the trickle effect across our country as we will start seeing the limitations of supplies coming towards, to our part of the country. And I mean, the government has tried to hold the big grocery stores accountable. They did have a number of hearings and commission hearings. Where that will go, I don't know. Again, we heard Galen Weston say absolutely they are not gouging Canadians, that most of their profits have come from not groceries, but, Shoppers Drug Mart, other items that they sell. I don't know if anybody buys that at all. But it almost feels like it's yeah, but I don't know if I really don't know if the government can fix that problem.
You're right. I mean, I think they need to try harder, right? We talked recently, Galen Weston gets, a pay increase of $4 million.
Yep.
And some of his employees are using food banks to feed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That just doesn't make any sense. And so this idea that it's always a supply issue, again, is BS.
Yeah.
They need to lower the grocery prices. They're simply too high. So I think it's great that the government's offering this grocery rebate, but at the end of the day, it's really not enough when they should really be going back to these grocery store chains to say, you know what? You need to lower your prices.
Yeah. Okay, I have to run, but really quickly, do you think we need a bridge to the islands with all of the chaos that happens every single summer? It wasn't just this past weekend on Canada Day weekend, but I mean, I remember when I was a little kid going to the islands, it was always push and shove to get on a ferry. Is it about time that we build a bridge or a pedestrian tunnel to the islands?
Absolutely, it'd be great. Awesome way to walk across to the island, cycle across to the island. I mean, I think the residents don't want it because they don't want people on their island, but I think it's going to be helpful for them, especially in the wintertime.
Yeah, they don't want us over there in the winter. Thanks, Devel.